Today on the Bandwagon Says podcast, we're going to be discussing Facebook giving up on podcasting, TikTok rolling out revenue share for their content creators, and a couple of other things, so go ahead and stick around. And to kick off the show, we need to start with some mourning. We need to mourn the loss of podcasting on Facebook because Facebook announced they are shutting down their podcasting service. There's not much information about the corporate decision behind this, about the justification for it, about why they're doing it, but I will link the TechCrunch article in the episode notes in the description in case you want to read more. But I have to say, I am completely and utterly shocked by this. 1, 2, 3, not. Back in, was it BSP-307, I think it was, where I discussed the announcement that Facebook was getting into podcasting. I said, I don't think this will work based on the user behavior on Facebook. What do people go to Facebook for? Text posts, arguing about politics, pictures, life updates. They do not go to Facebook to consume long-form audio-only content. Based on my terrible, uninformed understanding of how Facebook is used, about why people use Facebook, I came to the conclusion this will not work. This will likely be a failure. Within 1 year, I was right. That's all there is to it. I don't think that a lot of people really adopted it as a primary place for their podcast. I think a lot of people do still have their podcast pages there, their community pages, where they put out a post saying, hey, new episode out, go check it out. I think all of that is still going to continue to be there. But as far as Facebook being an audio content destination, I simply don't see that happening. I don't see it happening in the future, and clearly it has not worked over the last year. So unless they change things about, and unless they retrain their user base about what to expect on Facebook, I don't foresee podcasting really taking off there. Continue to use it and promote your podcast if you like it. I am still going to avoid Facebook with all of my being. As soon as I realized that Facebook does not distribute your content to the people who choose to follow your page, and in order to reach the people who have decided to follow your page, you need to pay them, I signed out. I said, nope, not going to be for me. I'm not going to give them money to reach the people who said that they want my content. Because now not only am I creating a reason for people to be on Facebook, I am uploading my content and creating content on Facebook, but then I am paying them on top of it to get it in front of the eyes of people who I am giving content to be on Facebook. I think that made sense. It just does not make, it's not a good cost-benefit analysis for me. I know there are people and companies who are very good about their approach on Facebook. They do a cost-benefit analysis and they realize, okay, cost per acquisition for a listener is $1.50, and through advertising and the potential revenue that I get from a premium subscription from them, that makes sense. For me, not making money on this podcast and turning down ads because I don't want them, it makes zero sense. So I'm not going to use Facebook. And I think a lot of podcasters are probably feeling very similar to that, and that's likely why it didn't pick up. Podcasters probably did not flock to Facebook to put their shows on there. I know I ignored every single email saying, hey, you can put your podcast here. You have a page. Upload your RSS feed. I ignored them. But then also the users, the people who ought to be listening on Facebook, I don't see that happening. That's it for that news. I got nothing else. Next, what do we have? TikTok rolling out ad sharing, ad revenue sharing. How convenient. Last week I talked about it. I mentioned that YouTube was rolling out advertising on YouTube Shorts. It was overlays, and it was going to be, I think, the 50-50 or 55-45 revenue share that they do on all their ads. And I posited that this was going to be good for YouTube, and it could potentially lead to YouTube drawing creators away from TikTok. Well, TikTok just came out midweek on Wednesday and said, hey, we're going to do ad sharing too. This is why it's good to have competition in the marketplace. Had YouTube not made that announcement, I don't think TikTok would have announced this. And they announced it so quickly that they must have had it set up. They just held it back and didn't do it because they didn't have to. But once the competition came out and said, hey, you're not getting paid well on TikTok, come over here, we will share ad revenue with you. TikTok said, oh, wait, we'll do that too. So there you go. What are the requirements here? You need to have 100,000 followers on TikTok to gain access to this revenue share. Not everybody's going to get it. And I know, how dare they? Just like YouTube, I can't believe it. 4,000 hours of watch time and 1,000 subscribers. It's immoral that they have these. That's how I imagine people screaming about the requirements for monetization sound. People get really angry about YouTube's monetization, the YouTube Partner Program requirements, which are 4,000 hours of watch time and 1,000 subscribers. It will be interesting to see if the response is the same to TikTok, where you don't need 1,000 subscribers, you need 100,000 subscribers. But also, I don't know what that says about the subscribers, the value of the subscribers, how difficult it is to get those subscribers or followers. It seems like TikTok, you grow a lot quicker. It seems as though the followers and the views are less intentional and therefore less valuable. But we'll see what happens as this rolls out and as people get into the ad sharing program. Let's see how much money people make on TikTok. I imagine you will see a lot of extremely wealthy people. I don't know how some of the TikTok creators were making money before. Because what was it called before? The Creator Fund? It didn't seem like people were earning money from that. It has to have been from brokering their own ad deals. That's the only way they could have made money. But this is going to remove that difficulty, that barrier. And I imagine we're going to see a lot of really rich TikTokers popping up. A lot of flex culture about to pop up on TikTok. It's going to be a ton of fun to watch that crash and burn. I will link 2 articles. There is, I didn't even mention the ad split. On YouTube, if I'm not mistaken, it's 55, 45, 55 for the creator. It's been a while since I looked at that. TikTok is 50-50, so 50% ad split. I think that's more than fair. No complaints there. And I think if they want to have 100,000 follower entry point requirement, I think that's more than fair as well. Okay, Forbes article and a Tech Explorer article. I only pulled the revenue ad split from the Tech Explorer article because that's the place I could find it. All right, those are all the news stories that I have. What I'm testing, I'm on the SM7B today. I was going to use the XM8500 again, but then I filmed the last response, the last part of this podcast with the SM7B, and I figured, hey, let's use it anyway. That's what I've been testing. Now let us jump to what you had to say. And the first comment comes from Soundspeeds. I'm not saying his name in the typical way, the Soundspeeds. No, because he is on my list. He is now on my enemy list. You'll understand why when we get to the end of the episode. And just for Soundspeeds, there you go. Okay, what Alan says is... Another thing you can do to help with the sibilance is less ideal, but an option. You can use more aggressive wind protection to take out all the highs, I'm assuming. Not the best solution, but an option. It's really awesome that this podcast aired at about the same time as Cud Juts. Cudjuds is Cudjud. Who is Cudjud? That's amazing. I am no longer calling him Curtis Judd. His name is now Cudjud. Hey, Cudjud. Where was I? Aired at about the same time as Cudjud's sound for video session on Curtis Judd Audio, where we have the exact same advice as you. Great to all offer the same advice for getting things right in the can before post. There you go. So yes, you could do more aggressive wind protection. Let me go ahead and find the windscreen for the SM7B. I think this might actually be it. And we will do a quick A-B comparison. Okay. This is the SM7B without any wind protection. This is the SM7B with the smaller foam windscreen, and you can hear a little bit of the top end gets taken away by this. And this is the big fat foam windscreen for the SM7B, and you can hear a lot of the top end get taken away by this, and this is exactly what Alan is saying. If you want to handle the Sibilance, take away the top end with some foam wind protection. Let me go ahead and take this off. And this is how it sounds without the foam windscreen. You can hear the top end just come back to life and open up. There you go. Great suggestion from Alan, and somebody else in the comments, sorry, said the exact same thing. Use foam to take away the top end. I know I had what you had to says, but apparently I did not copy them into my notes, so I am going to open them up in a different program. Next, we have a comment from Tai Ji Fufu. Tai Ji Fufu, I think they say. A weird tip for sibilance that I do sometimes is hold my finger on my lower lip against my teeth. This wouldn't work well if you're on camera, but it's just audio. If it's just audio, it can help. All right, this is a tip that I have never heard before, so we're going to give it a shot right now. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. Seashore. Now let me put my finger on my lip, pushing it to my teeth. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. Sally. I guess it makes a little bit of a difference. Difference. Not a big difference, though. Not a big change. I think using a de-esser or a big fat foam windscreen is going to be the real ticket. Apologies as I put the foam windscreen back on the SM7B. What is the final comment that we have? This comes from Kevin Jackson, and this is out of my wheelhouse. Not something I'm comfortable with, but I think it's important to sometimes allow people with differing opinions to share their thoughts. Kevin Jackson says, I've seen some good ideas about human authentication by using a small crypto deposit on your account that will be returned to you if you ever close your account and taken from you if you violate the rules. Hence, Twitter could monetize truly bad actors like bots. Some claim this can be done in an anonymous way that is also user-friendly. Kevin, thank you very much for the comment. I appreciate it very much, and this is in response to last week's episode when I was talking about my concerns with privacy and Twitter's human authentication. I don't know enough about crypto to know if this is a good or a bad idea. I think there would be a significant amount of pushback and even more hurdles to overcome to get so many people to adopt cryptocurrency or some form of crypto, especially with how big the user base on Twitter is. Doing something like this would probably 50% of the users, and that's being generous, probably a lot more, would just say, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to tie my credit card and sign up for some crypto thing, especially for a bot account. I mean, if it gets rid of the bots, maybe that would be good, but I think a lot of the users would just abandon ship as well. I don't know. I guess all the users wouldn't need to do this because it's just for human authentication. You could still exist without authenticating that you are a human. We'll have to wait and see how all of Twitter functions once Elon takes control in 3 to 6 months. Thank you very much, Kevin. I appreciate you. Now let us jump to my favorite part of the show, the Ask Bandrew segment. Welcome back to the Ask Bandrew segment, where you ask Bandrew, aka me, and I answer you, aka you. So if you have questions that you want answered on this show, go to askbandrew.com. 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 Go check it out. Instructions on how to send in audio, video, and text. I do prefer audio and video because then I don't have to read, and that is a good thing. That's a good thing. As I burp. Disgusting. First, we have a voice submission from Emmanuel. Emmanuel. Take it away, Emmanuel.
Hi, Bandrew. Now I'm thinking of getting a new audio interface or a mobile recorder. I heard good things about the Zoom Podtrak P4. It's very versatile. You can use it to record on Android or as an audio interface, but it only has 44.1 kilohertz 16-bit recording, and I don't know if this could be an issue. Not so for voice, but maybe for recording instruments. Or should I get a Zoom H6 instead of it? I'm recording this right now on the Audio DJ8 from Native Instruments and the Shure SM58. Do you think a Focusrite Scarlett would make a big difference to this setup? Or would I not hear any difference? So thank you for your time and your help, and have a nice day.
Emmanuel, thank you very much for the voice submission. To summarize, you're asking, should you get the Zoom Podtrak P4 or the Zoom H6? You do have concerns that 44.1 kilohertz limitation on the Podtrak P4 would be an issue for music. I will say, some people swear that you need to record in high resolution 96 192 kilohertz because even if you can't hear it, you can feel it. I don't fully buy it. I'm Ron Burgundy. And there's plenty of music that is still recorded in 44.1 kilohertz. And I don't think the vast majority of people will ever be able to tell the difference between 44.1 and what would it be? 86.6? I don't know. I can't do the math in my head right now. I'm a big old dum-dum. I rely on Excel. 96, 192. I don't think the vast majority of people would ever be able to tell the difference, especially because as you get older, your hearing does become degraded. You lose higher frequencies, 16, 17 kilohertz. I think you can hear up to 18 kilohertz when you're 15 probably. When you're a child, you can hear that high. 192, unnecessary. With that being said, I don't know exactly what your use case is, but you said you're concerned about 44.1 kilohertz for music. If you are buying these devices for music, I would not recommend either of them. I don't think the Zoom Podtrak P4 or the Zoom H6 is ideal for music. Unless you are going to be using all 4 of the XLR inputs for each of these devices and recording all of the instruments live. But if you are not doing that, if you are not doing portable recording where you go to venues and mic up everything that you're recording, I think you ought to look for a desktop audio interface because they will outperform these portable recorders, at least at this level, every time. So I think because the Podtrak P4 is around $200-ish, the Zoom H6 is $350-ish. At that price point, you could get the Audient ID14, the SSL2 Plus, a Universal Audio Volt, a Motu M2. Those are 4 outstanding audio interfaces. The audio quality is outstanding. You get those, Unless they break, you're probably not going to need much else. The audio quality on that, the audio performance of all those interfaces is getting near theoretical limits, maybe within 3 dB, 4 dB, pretty darn close, pretty negligible amounts of difference between the theoretical limit and what you're getting out of these. So if you're doing music, I would recommend going with one of those. As far as would you recognize a difference or notice a difference between the device that you're using, which was the, I don't have it written down, Native Instruments Audio 8 DJ. Did I get it right? I'm remembering this from an hour ago when I listened to this. If that's what you're using, I don't know what your application is still, because I don't think you mentioned what you're going to be using this for. If you're going to be using it for the microphone, you may get a slight improvement over the noise performance, but when I was listening to that, it wasn't terrible. It was more than tolerable. But if you're doing an audiobook that has very stringent technical requirements, yeah, you may need to go with one of these desktop interfaces. But if it's just going to be for YouTube, if it's just going to be for sending in audio questions to this podcast, I think it's fine. But to the main question again, I don't think you should get either of the Zoom devices. If your primary use is music and you do not need the portable form factor of those devices, because you're paying a premium for the portability of those devices. If you don't need that main feature of those devices, go with a device that performs better but is not designed, does not include that premium for the portability. Again, Audient ID14, SSL2 or 2+, Universal Audio Volt, or Motu M2, 4 outstanding interfaces that I think will serve you well. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. I appreciate you. Next question, voice submission from Billy. Billy, take it away.
Bandrew, how's it going? Billy here from the No Disclosure podcast. I have kind of a two-parter question here for you, if I may. Number one, are you one of those guys that says, hey, you have to have some kind of a video thing to go with your audio? Is video an absolute must for you? Is that something that you would tell a podcaster? Yeah, get into video if you can. You're cotton-headed ninny-muggins if you don't. Part number two is, where would you put, because I need to introduce some kind of declicker. Where would you put that in the signal chain? My signal chain is EQ, compressor. I use an expander or noise gate depending on the situation. I do a compressor on the master bus just to kind of glue everything together. Limiter, very, very basic signal chain, nothing heavy. So where would you put a declicker in there? Again, I took up too much of your time. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being such an amazing resource for all of us. I appreciate you, and thanks for answering my question.
Thank you very much, Billy. I appreciate the voice submission as I sit down and twist my ankle. You know you're getting old when your knees just ache and you just stand up and you twist your ankle. Am I a 97-year-old man? I went to sleep at 8:30 last week. I think I might be a 97 or 98-year-old man. I'm okay with it. To summarize the first question, do I think that podcasters need to get into video? I think that if you're uploading your podcast to YouTube, that video is fairly essential. The reason I'm saying that is if you're uploading your podcast to YouTube, why are you doing that? Chances are you want your show to get in front of new eyes and or new ears. So the reason I'm saying, I imagine there was a bit of mouth noise there because I swallowed pretty loud, disgusting, but the reason I'm saying that it is pretty essential is if you want people to get their eyes and ears on your show on YouTube, I don't imagine that YouTube does a lot of promotion of audio-only content on the platform. So to get to the ends that you're trying to accomplish by uploading video to YouTube, I do think that video is essential. With that being said, I don't think that you need to have a video camera. I don't think you need to go the route of setting up cameras if you are self-conscious about your looks, if you don't want your face out there for privacy reasons, whatever it may be. There is a prime example of how to do this, in my opinion. For months, I have been watching a channel called watchfinder.co.uk. Well, that's really smart that they made their YouTube channel their domain. Is that what their YouTube... Doesn't matter. It's called Watchfinder. And a couple of months ago, they started doing more casual audio podcasts. And I think that is a prime example of how to upload audio-only content to YouTube without having face cams, without having cameras pointed at your face. The way they do it, there are two people on the podcast. Each of them have an image of a microphone associated with their voice. So while the host is talking, a picture of one microphone will be on. When the co-host starts talking, a different microphone will pop up on screen. It gives you a little bit of a visual representation of the individual without actually seeing their face. But they also have supplemental imagery throughout the show. So it's not as though it's just a static image the entire hour-long podcast or 15-minute-long podcast. They have the switching back and forth of microphone pictures. And on top of that, when they're talking about watches, specific watches, they will pull out 5, 10, 15 photos of that watch and try to highlight exactly what they're discussing. So I think if you are uploading your podcast to YouTube with the purpose of getting new listeners or new viewers, video is essential. If you're uploading it to YouTube just for posterity, I don't know why you would, but if you are, for legacy, as someone pointed out a couple of months ago, no. If you're a podcaster, you do not need to do video. But if you are uploading that podcast to YouTube, I think video is essential. Podcasting is inherently an audio-only format. If I just uploaded this to YouTube, I don't think it would be classified as a podcast. It would be a YouTube show. And now that I'm saying that, I realize that I don't think the Watchfinder show is a podcast because I don't think they have an audio-only version. I have been bamboozled. What have you done to me? You've caught me in a not a fib, but a hypocritic moment. Hypocritic? Hippogrific? Hypocritic. Why does that word sound weird? Hypocrite. Hypocritic. You get the point. I have called them a podcast when I don't think they are. Please forgive me, Podfather, for I have sinned. Anyway, I think that answered the question. Then your second question is, where in the signal chain should you add the Declick plugin? First, I will say, experiment. Try it in different places in the plugin chain, in the signal chain, and see which one works best for you. For me, I start with de-reverb if I need it. Then I will do de-plosive if I need it, although I need it pretty much every show because I'm terrible with it. Then I will do breath control. Then I will do mouth declick, then the gate, then the EQ, then the compressor, then the de-esser. But experiment, because you can do that. You can do that. It's really easy just to experiment and see which one sounds best for you. That's the beauty of this. You don't have to burn it into the audio. You don't have to put it to tape. You can record the raw signal and then, in post, fiddle around with it to find out which one works best, whatever way works best for you. And that's the beauty of it. There you go. I hope that answered your question and gave you some idea about how to approach the Declick plugin. Just experiment, but I gave you how I run my signal path. Now let's go back to past Bandrew before he lost all will to live. All right, and to wrap up the podcast, I have my laptop out because I was asked to go ahead and do a live reaction to this video by Sound Speeds. I have no idea what it is, but we'll see together, and I do not want to make a habit of this. I do not want this to be a thing because it's a pain. But let's go ahead and play it and see why Alan wants me to react, probably to make a fool of me. Let's see if he successfully does it.
Hi, Bandrew. This is Alan from SoundSpeeds, and I'm going to make us both happy as I ask this question. For you, I'm going to bring the microphone very close. That way I'm close micing it. That way you can hear all the little bitty things in my voice. And for me, I'm going to have a nice spoonful of peanut butter first.
Why would you do this? Why would you do this? Okay, what? Hang on, I'm pausing it for a second. What he's done, he's eaten a spoonful of peanut butter, then he has added a mouth declick plugin, and then in Isotope mouth declick, there's an output clicks only. That's what he has done. He has output the clicks, and it is one of the most repulsive things that I have ever heard in my entire life. This is reductio ad absurdum. This is offensive to the senses. I hate everything about this. I literally can't keep my headphones on. It's so disgusting. I am physically disgusted. Oh God, oh jeez Louise. You are too pleased with yourself. I hate all that you choose to be. Why are you the way that you are? My goodness gracious. That was... I understand why he wanted me to react live to it. Alan is a monster. Alan has trolled me in the past. He has spoken into the wrong side of a shotgun microphone. He has made himself green. This is over the line. Over the line, Alan. Oh my gosh. I know the reason why he's... I know the reason why he's doing this, because he constantly advocates for keeping microphones a bit farther away to eliminate mouth noises. I personally prefer a little bit closer miking. I like 4 or 5 inches away from the microphone. Gives a bit of warmth to it, and it doesn't get too aggressive with the mouth noises. Of course, I do mouth declick on my plugins, on my processing for this podcast, I should say, and I also try to stay extremely hydrated, which does help reduce mouth noises. But overall, I'm sure it could be better. But you disgust me, Alan. You are all that I hate in this world right now. I never thought recording a podcast would make me feel sick to my stomach. But now I do. Now I feel sick to my stomach. You disgust me, Alan. All right. That's all that I've got for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Apart from that last submission, gosh, I understand. I'm going to look at the retention graph on YouTube, and there's going to be a steep drop-off there where nobody finishes the episode. Same with the actual audio podcast. People are just going to click off. But I appreciate you if you are still here. I hope I was speaking into the microphone correctly and not popping it, because I have my headphones onto this computer and I'm not monitoring on that. We'll see. I appreciate you being here. I think I said that multiple times. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you have an amazing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Next Sunday, I will talk at you. If you're a mother, you're awesome. Happy Mother's Day, and I will talk to you later. I love you. Bye-bye.
This has been a Geeks Rising production. Your executive producer is Bandrew Scott. For more information, head over to www.geeksrising.com.